everyone. Welcome to Chinable Academy, and today this is our sixth episode of China Speed Live. And our topic for today is Beyond Marketing, the future of social impact brands in China. And we're very happy to invite Olivia, the founder of LUÜNA Naturals, to join us. So before we start, just allow me to introduce a bit about Chinable Academy and China Speed. So we are a training and resources sharing platform. We offer online courses, workshops, and also we do webinars regularly to introduce China market, China business, e-commerce, marketing, etc. So for this webinar, it will last for around 1 hour. And if you have any questions for the guest, you can just use the chat tab to type your questions, and we will try to answer them during the Q&A session at the end of the event. And for any other queries, you can also contact the guests directly. So this webinar will also be recorded. So if any of your friends are also interested in this topic and they missed the event, they can also watch the replay video on our website and on the YouTube tomorrow. So before we start, I'm not sure, maybe some of you already heard about this issue. This is a very hot topic now on China social media. I think last week it started from someone posted a screenshot saying that a Taobao seller is selling really cheap period napkin and period care products on Taobao, and it's really cheap, and it's no brand, it has no brand name, and it has no packaging, but still a lot of people are buying, and people question why do they want to buy these cheap products, and there are maybe quality issue, and then people answer, because I really live a hard life, I can't afford those big brands. So that's why this period poverty topic has become super hot on Weibo, and then a lot of people are discussing, like many people are starting to realize that how much a woman can spend on their period care products like every month. And they're also starting to realize there are actually a lot of quality issues from the period care products that we use like every day. So I think it's a good thing that I think it's a good chance for us to talk about this issue today, because I know that Olivia has been putting a lot of effort to educate consumers in China and to talk about trying to provide really health product, really environmental friendly products to the Chinese female consumers. So maybe at the beginning, Olivia, you can introduce a bit about yourself and also about your company.
Sure. Would you like me to start now?
Yeah, you can share your screen.
Okay, so I want to continue, share my screen. All right. So thank you so much, Miro, for having me, and thank you everybody for tuning in today to listen to me talk about the work of LUÜNA Naturals. I'm going to assume that anybody on the call has very little knowledge of who we are. So for those of you that don't know, we are Asia's social impact period care company. We have offices in Shanghai, in Hong Kong, and in Singapore, where our teams are female-driven, but not female-only teams, are currently working towards our mission, which is to create honest periods here in Asia. So what do we mean by honest periods? I'll get to that a little bit later, but first I wanted to share a little bit about how I came to start the brand. Miro, is it okay if I jump into a little bit of background?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so it's 2015. I am living in Hong Kong, and I have my period every month, but I'm not thinking very much about it. And I started to get quite frustrated, being a tampon user myself, that every time I had to travel back to the UK, where I'm originally from, I had to bring a suitcase full of tampons with me, because they were quite hard to find here in Hong Kong and were a lot more expensive than I was used to paying back home, because they are imported products. So this is something that tampon users like myself experience across Asia, actually, and I'll come to why in a few moments. But there I was one day at the check-in desk of Heathrow Airport flying back to Hong Kong. And because I was over the weight limit for my luggage, I had to unpack my suitcase. And this required me to unpack box upon box upon box of tampons in front of a long queue of people. Now, in this moment where I was humiliated, I thought two things. Firstly, why in a modern city like Hong Kong do I have to bring basic period care products from abroad? And secondly, why am I so embarrassed that this queue of people have seen that I use tampons? And for me, somebody that considered myself, I don't know, quite empowered about my relationship with my body, that was a really, really profound moment of realizing that I actually carried with me a lot of menstrual stigma myself. So I couldn't get this out of my head. And I arrived back in Hong Kong and I started to think about why this status quo around periods remains so shameful. So I started speaking to women and I got a job in Shanghai. So it was 2016. I started thinking about menstruation already and continued to talk to women in Shanghai when I got there. And what was very quickly apparent was no matter what age we are, where we're from, our educational background, our economic status, all of us, most of us, are still united in the same fear, shame, and confusion around our bodies. So there might be some of you who are watching this right now who think, no, you know what, I am totally empowered about my period. I know all there is to know and I have a great experience every month. If you are thinking that, congratulations, but you are a minority, a significant minority. Most of us are very, very much in the dark about this, what is often a monthly occurrence. This was really striking to me and really bothered me. And I guess I started wanting to figure out how I could change this. And something that really struck me as well when I was having conversations with predominantly local women in Shanghai was that although all of us experience the same shame and confusion, really a difference between, I think, what perhaps is more Western stigmas is that in Asia, because of the misconceptions around products beyond pads, for example, there is a lot of concern around product alternatives. And that really struck me because when I was starting my period, sort of age 12, 13, my life was basically ruined by pads. Now, I think pads can be great, and there is no shame if you are a pad user. You can use whatever product you want. But when I started my period, I had a hormone imbalance, which meant I bled so heavily that I would bleed through pads between 1 or 2 hours, which isn't normal. But nobody told me that this wasn't normal. I just thought, oh my God, life as I know it is over. For the next 30 years, I'm going to have to stop playing sports. I'm not going to be able to socialize. I'm going to have to wear like sometimes 2 pads at a time. It was chaos. And I started to really resent my period and my body and resent being a woman. So when I forced myself at the age of 15 to try tampons, because I just thought enough is enough. Okay, nobody's talked to me about this product, but you know what? I'm going to give it a go because there has to be a better option. Tampons really did change my life for that reason. I was able to do sports. I just felt more empowered during my period. And so when I found out that in mainland China, for example, adoption of tampons was around, at the time, 1 or 2%. It's still only around 3% versus 70 to 80%, say, in the UK. I had a mission not to convert people to tampons, but to just make sure that everybody felt safe enough to explore other period product choices. And this is what led me to start my tampon workshops, which sound really weird. They probably were quite weird. Me making like little flyers and posting them on WeChat, posting them with a local friend of mine. And we would basically just talk to women about tampons. And we were able to conclude that at least 1 in 4 local Chinese women that came to these workshops were really unhappy with pads. And that's a huge amount of women. And so we just wanted to be able to provide the guidance around this alternative. And I guess at that stage, you know, I was very, very invested in what I thought was like an educational mission, maybe a movement around more menstrual health education in Asia. But when LUÜNA really came to be was when at one of these workshops, a woman at the end sort of said to me, you know what, I have always been really hesitant to try tampons, but I hate pads and I'm willing to give tampons a go. But can you just tell me, what are tampons made of? And I couldn't answer her. And she was really horrified because she was like, you've literally just told me that you put this inside your body and have done for the last 10 years. How do you not know what it's made of? And I was really embarrassed, but also concluded that she also didn't know what her pads were made of. So I went away to do my research just simply so I could answer this question the next time somebody asked, and I was horrified about what I found out. I found out that the tampons I've been using were not made of just clean white cotton. There's a difference between organic cotton and conventional cotton. And organic cotton means cotton grown without toxic chemicals. So if you're using period products that are just made of conventional cotton, which most are, that material is grown with carcinogenics, literally cancer-causing chemicals. Moreover, most big brown period products contain a significant amount of synthetics, viscose, rayon, polyester, like materials I'd never heard of and couldn't pronounce, right? And so when I learned this, I immediately stopped using those tampons that I'd used for the last 10 years. And crucially, all of the irritations that I'd got that I'd blamed on my body stopped. So I, like many people, maybe some of you who are watching this, I would suffer negative things, maybe like odors or irritations. I would get yeast infections all the time. And I was just like, oh God, that's my body, like, for me. But actually it was because I was using poor quality products. And so in that moment, I knew that I had to kind of marry this educational mission that I'd already started with the creation of products that I myself needed. And also I didn't want my friends using those irresponsible products anymore. So that's when the idea for LUÜNA came about. I knew I had to make the products and therefore make a company that would provide this education and the responsible products that I and my friends deserve. So we basically have 3 pillars. We have the creation of better products, obviously really important. We also deliver taboo-free education. And the 3rd pillar is our social impact business model, which I think we'll touch upon a bit more later, Miro. But that's, in a nutshell, the story of how LUÜNA Naturals came to be.
Also, could you also share a bit like why did you call it LUÜNA? Like what's behind the name, the story behind the name?
Yes, the progression of our logo comes into play here. So LUÜNA, we believe in a return to nature, and in traditional Eastern teachings, there is a link between the menstrual cycle and the moon cycle, which I absolutely love. And also, again, sort of returning to natural products. Our bodies are natural, so our products should be natural. Our vaginas are naturally toxin-free, so our products should be naturally toxin-free. And also, our logo used to be a transition of 3 different moons. And the reason I like the name LUÜNA so much is because we believe that, like the moon, because of our hormonal changes throughout the month, a woman can shift and change shape. You know, at different times of the month, because of our hormones, we might be more creative. We might be better at admin at different phases of our cycle. We might be stronger physically. We might want to rest more. And so therefore, we believe that, like the moon, we can change shape and shift throughout the month whilst always remaining true to who we are.
I see. That's very interesting how you came up with the name. Okay, so maybe we can talk more about like what you mentioned, the women empowerment in China, because I think this is still, I don't know, from my point of view, I see this as a new trend in China, because, you know, we have I think recently there is a very popular reality show called Sisters Who Make Waves. So it features like 30 women who are aged from 30 years old to maybe more than 50 years old. And it shows that even if you're like more than 30 years old, you can still live a really wonderful life. And there is another very popular drama called Nothing But 30, also has the same like inspiration, same idea. And we also see a lot of other brands who are also launching campaigns that's about women empowerment, about like, for example, the brand Nei Wai. It's a Chinese lingerie brand, and it launched a Nobody is Nobody campaign. So it's about the body inclusivity. So it teaches people. It talks about like you don't need to be really skinny to be pretty. You need to embrace your own body. I think this is something new to the Chinese women, to the China market. But I think this is also a really inspiring trend for us, for the Chinese women. So do you think this is a trend that will also influence your brand image, will also influence the Chinese consumer behavior? And how do you think it will, give you more like inspirations on how you will promote your brand in the future?
So I think we are probably just lucky as a company that female empowerment, women empowerment in China, which is one of our markets, is taking center stage, because it really is the DNA of our company to empower women. So we didn't like the shift in the market is something that I think can really aid the progress of our company, but we wouldn't exist if we weren't empowering women. You see what I mean? So for us, nothing will change with regards to how we brand ourselves, the campaigns that we launch. I know that I think we as a brand, as a company, could probably reach more people right now, get more customers, if we perhaps weren't quite as bold as we are, right? Like, I hope none of my investors are watching this, because, what I'm basically trying to say is I think we could have a wider audience currently if we weren't perhaps as bold and as confident and as forward thinking as we are right at this moment. But myself and my team really, really believe that if we genuinely and authentically lead the way with regards to setting a new standard for how we as women are able to think about our bodies in Asia, yes, we might right now be perhaps a bit too bold for a wider audience, but by appealing to our core community, women who I've met, people who are so badass, so incredibly forward thinking, demanding more transparency, thinking more about how they can reach their full potentials. If we can really build a solid community with that initial demographic, then we hope that they will be able to inspire the women whose lives they touch. So, we'll see how that goes. I have every faith that will work for us. But right now, I think it's about being happy that the market is reflecting our core values, with the fact that female empowerment is being talked about more and more. But at the same time, like, this is not a trend for us. This is the reason we exist.
Yeah, I agree. You mentioned about like community building. I think what you are chasing is you don't need the quantity. You don't need a large group of people, but you are more chasing the quality of the community. I actually agree, because a lot of brands in China, they at the beginning they are willing to spend a lot of money to reach a large group of audience, but maybe not all of the audience are their target customer, but they just want to have like a large group of customers. But for you, you are more chasing the quality of your of your audience and your customers. So maybe you can talk more about like how do you build your community from zero? Like how do you educate your customers? How do you really find those people who can resonate with your brand pillars?
Right, and I think you have to look at the category that we're in first and foremost, right? We're in a personal care category. It's not personal care like deodorant. Mm-hmm. We are in a category that is totally shrouded in shame and mystery. And so sparking these conversations comes with its very own unique challenge in every single market that we're in, and not just in Asia, right? Yeah. Globally, the conversations that people don't want to be having on a large scale. So when it comes to community building, I think you have to go back to the fact that our brand started because I was holding these workshops. Yeah. We were building community long before we had products, long before we had investment, long before we had a company. And so it really, again, is, I'll say this phrase so many times tonight, I'm sure, but it really is the DNA of our company, and something that I think I realized really early on, that in this space, in the period care industry, grassroots education and community building, it's the key. You've seen brands like big tampon brands from the West come in to China and try really poorly. When I look at some of the attempts that these companies have made in the past to come in to a market like China, to me, it's very evident that they were kind of just like testing the waters. We're selling enough pads here. It will just be a cherry on the cake if some people start to like tampons. But they were not invested in educating their community to discover the options that were right for themselves. And therein lies the problem, and therein lies the reason LUÜNA exists. Because, and this is a bold statement, but I don't think these big feminine care companies are driven with or have the ethical backbone whereby they genuinely really care about the well-being of their customers. And so for me, something as intimate as your period care choice, that has to be done at a grassroots level. Like our period care choices, it's much like our toothpaste choices, right? It's a very sticky category whereby you have a brand, you don't think about it, you grab it off the shelf every month, every week without giving it a second thought. And that's how we are with our period care. That's how I was for 10 years with my tampons, right? I didn't even think to check what was in these products that I was putting inside my body every month. It's bizarre to think back. And so when it comes to, I think, inspiring somebody to break that habit of basically a lifetime, it really, really has to come from a personal place, a place that says, I know I can help you discover perhaps a better option because I also use these products. And I think the challenge, I'll be honest, that we are facing at LUÜNA is, what do we know we can do really well? Grassroots community building. We can stand in a room full of women and talk to them about menstrual cups. And from the first minute to the end, the attitude has gone from completely sometimes terrified of this product to I'm willing to give it a try, because we are there, we are relatable, it's obvious we genuinely care and we use these products ourselves. The challenge we face as a company is how do we scale that effectively to reach more people?
Yeah, I think that's next step of your brand, like how to scale. Do you I don't know, do you have a goal, like maybe for next year, for the next 3 years, 5 years?
Oh yeah, we got goals. We have so many goals, and our goals, we obviously have a business plan and we have sales projections and things like that. But I think as a team, we tend to look at our goals as, because we have a social impact business model, we can say, okay, we aim to donate X amount of pads, X amount of menstrual cups in the next 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, meaning that we have served enough people with periods, inspired them to make a better choice about their own menstrual health products, and therefore been able to donate more products to those in need. I don't know if you're familiar with how our business model works. We basically just decided we've always had a social impact business model, but we've decided to roll out the same model for all markets, which is 10% of every single sale funds the donations of products to social initiatives within what we call the LUÜNA Period Collective. So that is a group of trusted social initiatives that we work with to donate products to their communities. So when we talk about goals, we really want to talk about like how many periods we have served over this period of time. And because we have this model, it means that every time a person like yourself or somebody within our direct community makes the decision to choose better period products, they know that that has a direct impact on the lives of somebody less fortunate than themselves. And for me, I think this really is the future of startups and businesses, I hope in China and across Asia and globally, whereby consumers will look for you to have that authentic social impact business model at the core of your company, not something you just apply on a seasonal basis because period poverty is trending in China. It has always been the core of your business.
Mm-hmm. So how do you think like have a social impact business in China different from other countries? Like, do you think the Chinese consumers will resonate more with your social impact idea or less?
Yeah, I think they will. Like I said, we are still appealing to a very specific community, and this community does demand a lot from us, and rightly they should. Mm-hmm. They want more transparency. They want to know that you are authentically committed to social impact. They want to know that they can really trust your products, that they are healthier for them and better for the planet. This is not currently widely adopted, let's be honest. I think conversations around sustainability, around transparency with regards to products, with regards to social impact, they are all still quite in their infancy in China and globally. Let's face it, like as consumers, we have been conditioned to not be conscious about our product choices. Again, from the food that we eat, to the deodorant that we use, to the period care that we choose, to the face cream that we select. All of these things we've been marketed to for so long, rather than been inspired to take ownership of our choices, which is what LUÜNA is really trying to do. We are not trying to market to anyone. We are trying to inspire our community to be conscious and therefore have the ability to make the choices that are best for them, best for the planet, and best for the wider community.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you mentioned that I think one of the key method for you to reach your target consumer is through building the community. So besides community building, do you also, like any other brands, also work with KOLs, also maybe do marketing, also sell on e-commerce platforms? Like, do you also do other marketing methods, or do you have anything to share?
One of the things I love most about my job is the women and the people I meet. We don't just work with women, but our ambassador program, so essentially what people might call KOLs or KOCs, this is our LUÜNA leader community. And these are both KOLs and KOCs, but it just feels so ugly to call them that, because they've become our friends. They've become women and people that we speak to constantly. They endorse our brand so much, and not because we are giving them a paycheck, but because our products have changed their lives, have changed the lives of their friends, because they want to be invested in our mission. And to me, that's one of the most powerful things that I think that I'm seeing evolve within our company. And let me be clear, this would not be a success without my team members who are running it. My marketing managers in Singapore, in Shanghai, in Hong Kong, women who totally embody the values of our company and are so excited to connect with our ambassadors. it's not easy. I'm not saying every company could do it. I mean, I've worked at agencies before. I've been the one to reach out to KOLs, like try and convince them to do something in return for products. It is a hard slog, but it's not that hard for LUÜNA. And that's what's so exciting to me as somebody who has worked in agencies doing this work. Like, and I think that's testament to how strong our purpose and our value is and how good our products are, is the fact that people are willing to take time to endorse us because they believe in us. And I've just never seen that before.
I think that's an interesting thing because like traditionally you will have to pay a KOL or KOC to work with them, to have them like post your products on social media. But for LUÜNA, what your approach is more like, if you really like my product, then you can become our brand ambassador and you help me to post my products on your social media. So it's more like working with the KOLs to build the community. They are the community leader actually. So you are working with KOLs to attract more of other community members to join this community. So the core is back to the community building. So you are still, this is the core business. Like,
and the thing is, we deeply respect that KOLs and influencers have grown their networks through hard work and through their own businesses. Like, this is their job. So it's not appealing to everybody that we speak to, right? And I think what's really powerful then is the fact that even though we are a new brand, is how much I think myself and now the team commit to supporting our ambassadors where we can, right? It's not, oh, we'll repost you on our social media platforms. Like, we have built connections with these people, and we genuinely try and support them where we can with maybe introductions to other collaborators that we think that would work for them, or, you know, thinking of like seeing partner brands and asking them if we can work with them to send our ambassadors things that we know that they will love because we built these relationships. This is not a strategy that can just be implemented overnight, and I also don't consider it a strategy. Everything that LUÜNA is able to do, because we are a startup with a limited budget, is because of the hard work that my team put into building authentic relationships.
Yeah. So do you also, like you mentioned, you also partner with other brands? So do you also like launch co-branding like products or co-branding campaigns with maybe bigger or more well-known brands to, you know, reach more audience?
Yeah, so we just held the first of what we hope will be an annual event called the Vagina Dialogues. So this is the first education and empowerment digital festival surrounding our bodies. So we talked about gynecological health, including cancers and endometriosis and other negative symptoms. We talked about vulva empowerment, you know, really understanding our anatomy, all of these things that are still very much shrouded in taboos, and which I know, again, going back to what I was saying earlier, really do position us in a place whereby we might just be that little bit too bold for some people right now, for a lot of people right now. And so within that, we worked with so many amazing brands, advocates, ambassadors, so many cool people who are so aligned with what LUÜNA is doing in terms of driving conversation around our bodies and smashing stigmas. There are so many cool people doing stuff like this across Asia, and we felt really honored that we could, through this campaign, bring them all together. And people met each other, they started collaborating outside of the Vagina Dialogues. It was fantastic. And so we didn't do any kind of co-branding stuff for our consumers during this campaign. But going back to our ambassadors, what we did do, which was super cool, was my team put together amazing sort of thank you packages for them. They had like these beautiful vagina cupcakes that were just like, they looked insane. They were by some local bakeries, female-led bakeries. We sent them our products, obviously. We sent them vulva face masks. So basically like face masks for your private areas that were made by this amazing female-led Singaporean brand. So we work with other brands and we would like to do more co-branded stuff in the future. But right now, actually, I think a lot of that work has gone into saying thank you to the people that have supported us and really driven our brand forward through endorsement and advocacy right now. With regards to co-branding, I think you need to look more at some of our B2B activities. So personally, one of the best things that I work on every single day is our initiative called A Better Period. So this is a Asia-wide initiative that says in 2020, every single venue that has somebody coming through it that has a period should have period products available, and they should be healthy and toxin-free, right? So less than 5%, I think significantly less than 5%.
Yeah. I think I've
Asia.
never seen any like shopping malls or, you know, providing period care products. Never.
Yeah. And oh my God, every single woman I've spoken to has had a traumatic experience with their period in public. They've either leaked on a chair in the office and had to sit there until everybody leaves, or they've had to like put tissue paper down their pants and run in like a sweaty Hong Kong summer heat to the nearest 7-Eleven and then use a pad that probably gives them an irritation anyway, right? So what LUÜNA is saying with this initiative is that every single space should have our period care dispensers where either women and people with periods can get these products for free, ideally, but budgets are limited, especially now because of COVID, or you can have our QR code payment dispenser where you pay for the products, right? But at least you know, like I would love to move through life knowing that if I started my period for some unknown reason tomorrow, I could go and find period products that I could trust. And amazingly, now this was very much put on hold because of COVID, and suddenly all the traction that we made at the end of last year was frozen. But now we're seeing, because of COVID, all of the big companies, and we're talking to local brands too, even cafes and restaurants, but all the big global companies that went quiet over the last few months have come back to us to say, okay, let's talk about putting these healthy period products in our offices. Budgets are still limited, and people aren't really in the office that much still, but we want to start really understanding how we can be authentically raising the standards of employee well-being. So linking that to kind of co-branding, it's not really co-branding in its truest form, but we are working with huge company names to get our products into these venues and into the hands of people that need them. And that is really exciting to me because it means more people are discovering our products, but it means that huge companies are thinking about menstruation, which has never happened in the history of the world before. And that's amazing.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting approach that maybe I think not many other brands have tried before, like working with big companies or I don't know, cafes, restaurants, shopping malls, have them like I'm sure they like big companies, they will have a certain budget for like social responsibility projects, and this is like women period care, menstrual care is actually very suitable for them to have this social responsibility project. And I think this matches perfect, and you can actually reach the exact target audience through these big companies. Those people are more willing to, you know, learn about this knowledge to understand your brand value. I think this is a very interesting approach.
But it's not easy, you know. It sounds obvious maybe to us right now. Oh, companies want to be more socially conscious. Of course they would want to put these products into their spaces, but we have to tackle deep-rooted menstrual stigma every time we have these conversations. We oftentimes might get a yes from a managing director or even a CEO, like a yes from a high-level person within these businesses, and then we get stuck at HR because people just within HR simply don't want to even mention the word periods. So it's not easy, and it's taken us, I mean, we started this initiative over a year ago, and like I said, for obvious reasons, it got put on hold this year. But even still, it's not an easy conversation to start with people, and it's certainly not an easy conversation to convince people that they should put budget behind. Although I think with some of the big names we've pretty much just secured this week, I do think that will probably start a trend of people going, you know what, like, we should have this.
Yeah, hopefully we will see like more period care products provided in public venues. Like if you suddenly find, you can find this period care products, like if you have an emergency in a restaurant.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look at bathrooms, right? Like men's bathrooms across Asia come with urinals. Like they are designed to fit the male anatomy and make it more convenient for men to use the bathroom. Yet still women are caught flustered and running around trying to find period products all the time, or like having traumatic leaking experiences. So this is where our belief that menstrual stigma is the biggest barrier to gender equality comes in. There are so many barriers and hurdles that we have to step over in order to achieve gender equality. But if nobody is tackling menstrual stigma, gender equality will never ever be achieved. So we really see that as our role in Asia, is to tackle that issue.
Well, I think that's a big dream. Like, hopefully we will, see things turning better. And I also have another funny question, because this is like a female issue. But do you think male also plays an important role here? Because in China, like in Chinese, we have like a term called 多喝热水, drink more hot water. It means that men actually don't know what to do if their girlfriend or their wives are going through the period. They just tell you, drink more hot water. That's it. They don't know how they don't know what you're experiencing. So do you think that what role is men playing in this, like your female initiative?
It's such a good question, and my answer to that is that every single person, no matter what gender you are or how old you are or where you live, is equally as important in this mission. I remember some anecdotes from my early research in Shanghai really stick out when it comes to the involvement of men. I remember more than once a woman coming to one of my early tampon workshops and deciding that she was ready to use tampons, or at least try them, because she wasn't happy with pads. And in some cases, maybe she went away and she tried them, and then she said that her boyfriend didn't want her to use them because of the misconceptions that he had and carried with him. Be it, oh, I don't think that's safe for you, or I don't want that to change the shape of your vagina. Things like this, right? Yeah. And so your work can only go so far if you're only educating half of the population. What good is it doing if I educate somebody to take this step in their lives if they go home and meet the same shame that they've just worked to overcome in their own personal space? So everybody is equally important in the work that we do. And I see that men are more and more becoming involved. So typically, when we work with corporates to implement our menstrual health education, typically we start with a women's only workshop. Now, I would prefer to start with a mixed gender, but we do know, and I think most people can understand this, that when you have a room full of people that have periods, everybody who menstruates, there is a next level of openness and sharing, which can not be understated. So that's always a nice first step. But I am increasingly becoming more confident to insist that we very soon after that first workshop have a follow-up workshop with men too. And they've just been amazing, because every man, I've never met a man that doesn't care about some woman, his mother, his daughter, his sister, his wife. Everybody cares about a woman. So when you educate men that if you continue to carry with you this shame about menstruation, the woman you love will continue using products that are increasingly linked to cervical cancer, endometriosis, or the that the products they use take 500 years to degrade, and we are hurtling towards a climate disaster.
Mm-hmm.
So when you just kind of mention it in passing, like, no one's really going to believe you. Like, yeah, by being awkward about periods, do you know that you're contributing to the climate disaster? People just wouldn't get it. But when you break it down during a workshop, I know that men and women alike leave those workshops going, you know what, it's my obligation to be more cool about periods and to make sure that I am not inadvertently shaming anybody into exploring better choices for their bodies and the planet.
Yeah, I think that's a bigger dream. I can only say that, to educate men. And do you already have some male customers already now?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. We did an amazing, so these have kind of been put on hold obviously, but probably a month ago now, when COVID cases in Hong Kong dipped, one of our corporate partners brought us in to do a mixed workshop in their offices. And the men that turned up, it was predominantly a male workshop by the end of it, you know, that mostly men turned up to this mixed workshop, and they bought products to go home and show the women in their life. Mm-hmm. And dads of daughters are a demographic that just excites me so much, because dads of daughters are literally like, sometimes as women, because we are used to the status quo, I genuinely have met women, decision makers, who are like, we don't need period products in the bathroom, women should get their own, be more prepared. But a lot of the time I get yeses from men, because they're like, what do you mean that's what you go through? That's horrific. Of course I want to help change that. And if they have daughters at home, they're like, oh my God, what do you mean these products contain these chemicals? Of course I want to take these products home and give them to her and spark this conversation. Mm-hmm. It's really cool.
That's a very funny story. Okay, so maybe next question is, do you have any tips for the new brands that have only limited budget? So do you have any tips for them to, like, if they want to sell to China, if they want to do marketing, if they want to work with the KOLs?
Yeah. Look, I am not gonna lie that I dream of more budgets. I dream of like films I could make, content I could create that, like, in my mind would change the world. This is how we think, right? Yeah. As founders. But those thoughts have become less frequent, because I think budget can make you lazy. And maybe this doesn't apply to that many industries. I can only really speak for my own. But it goes back to what I was saying about the grassroots stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we will make change, and we will be able to inspire people to try different period products, because we put in the hard work that we have to, because that's the ethics of our business, but also that we have to because we don't have money to go and drop on a celebrity to talk about our products to a million people, right? And so to anybody starting a company with limited budget, I think rest assured that so much budget is wasted by these big brands. So much goes to waste. I've worked in an agency, like, I know how much goes to waste. And so I think that doesn't necessarily help you succeed, but I think that's a good reminder that not having budget forces you to be creative in ways that I think is really lacking in a lot of agencies within a lot of big brands. And that's empowering when you remember that. It's empowering when you have those frustrations about lack of budget, let me tell you.
Yeah.
And and you know, we have so many tools at our disposal now, right? There are so many like e-commerce platforms that are designed to help people that don't know how to do e-commerce succeed. Educate yourself about those platforms. You don't need to necessarily invest so much in these early stages. You can create a minimum viable product, and you can start really focusing, I think, on building community, speaking so much to the people that you want to serve. That's the key, right? Like, again, sorry, I'm not meaning to slate agencies, but I've just sat in like 5 hour long meetings about strategy, when those 5 hours I've now spent through LUÜNA talking to the people directly that I want to be connecting with. And for me, that's so much more powerful a lot of the time than having like, you know, all of these like lengthy meetings about strategy. Be empowered by that, speak to the people that you want to connect with, and really make sure that you build close connections with them, build connections with ambassadors, with a really loyal tier of consumers who you can go back to at any time and ask questions to, check in with them consistently, and be liberated by the fact that you have the drive to do that versus getting kind of weighted down by big budgets.
Mm-hmm. I guess if you only have limited budget, you can't really work with the big KOLs, celebrities. The only thing you can do is like what you said, you can really find those target audience. You can only focus on this small group of people, and then you find them, you really talk to them, you really present your products, and they really like your products, they become your community member, and then you can work with them to spread the word, to build the word of mouth. I think this is something that if a new brand with limited budget, you can try at the beginning stage. You can really spend your limited money, limited marketing dollars to really find this group of people that is your target audience that really like your products.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think that, and again, this maybe doesn't apply to everybody, but just be, whether it's a service or a physical product, like be obsessed with your products, right? Like my product changed my own life in ways that I could never imagine, and continues every month that I use it to change my relationship with myself and my body. And so I think if you feel any less passionately about your products than that, in a way, as a brand with limited budget, right, you need that passion, you need that drive, and you need that belief to keep you going. So I guess that's more of my advice to founders than it is how to launch a company with limited budget, but I think it kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah, be passionate about your work, about your dream. I think that's related to my next question. Like, do you have any tips for other female entrepreneurs except for being passionate about your work?
Yeah, I do actually. My advice to you is that gender inequality and misogyny is potent in the startup world, right? I've experienced it firsthand. I've experienced it with fundraising. I've experienced it with new partnerships. This is something that you will inevitably have to face. And as a first-time female founder, I wasn't savvy enough to it, and I didn't surround myself with enough trusted mentors. I kind of just hustled it myself. So my first piece of advice would be to establish who your trusted mentors are really early on, because having somebody you can go to that you trust to provide advice when maybe you're met with difficult situations is something that you're really going to need to fall back on. You need to be independent, you need to be autonomous, that's for sure, but you do need to have a trusted circle of people around you who've done it before that you can lean on. And I think if I could go back and do it again, I would put more emphasis on that in the early stages. Mm-hmm. I think also advice to first-time female founders is, I think sometimes in the startup world, this kind of fake it till you make it attitude is valued still above a lot of other things. And I think perhaps more, although not totally, more of a female trait is, leading with empathy, leading with compassion. And for me, I think those qualities still aren't valued highly enough, either in the startup world or in the corporate world, in the business world, let's say. And so I think if that is your style of leadership, just really hold true to that. Don't be tempted to fall into this fake it till you make it kind of style. Own the fact that you are learning, own the fact that you don't know everything, and be transparent and honest, because I think the way all markets are going globally is a value on transparency and empathy. And so I don't think we should be tempted to be anything less than those qualities.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for the advice. And last question from me is that how do you build a global team from scratch? Like you mentioned, you have office in Shanghai, in Hong Kong, in Singapore, in the UK. So how do you build and manage this global team?
Oh my God, I have learned so much about how to manage people remotely. I think what I get really sad about at the moment is missing my team. We have such a tight family here, family team in Hong Kong. I miss my team in Shanghai. I miss the team in Singapore. We even have someone in the UK who had to go back there due to COVID, who, yeah, I genuinely miss them. And we've implemented different things recently. We've tried different things over the last few months about how we can stay connected, because it is fast paced in the startup world. Yeah. It's hard work, and we normally, when we're together, get so much energy off each other and so much motivation off each other. So there's might sound silly, but they're really important things we do now. Like we do a Friday afternoon virtual cheers, celebrating everything we've done for the week, talking about what we're doing for the weekend. I really want to make sure that my priority actually as we grow is maintaining the internal company culture, our values of diversity, inclusivity, support, transparency. I know that if we succeed as a brand and we grow and grow and grow, if we don't have the solid foundations of that within our early employees, then we're not going to be able to stay true to who we are. So what's really cool about our team is actually, I'd say, just about less than half of our employees started as our ambassadors. So take our marketing managers in Singapore and in Shanghai, they were our ambassadors, and then asked me if we had any jobs going, and maybe at the time we didn't, and then eventually we did, and timing just aligned. So I think that's really, really cool, is that we have no one within our team, I don't think, considers it just a job. And that's something that I want to really maintain as we move forward.
Mm-hmm. Do you think there is any difficulties for foreigners to manage Chinese staff? Do you have any challenges?
No, I think it's just what are the challenges of being a leader, right? And also a first time founder. I less and less, but I question myself all the time. I learn so much from my team. There is no, I hear this a lot actually. I hear people talk about managing Chinese staff, and I don't know, it just makes me really uncomfortable, because I think from my perspective, our teams, wherever they are unique. Yeah. And as a brand, I mean, we've only been in the market a year, and we're in 3 very different markets: Hong Kong, mainland China, and Singapore. We are trying to not only build one core brand identity, but we're also trying to localize in 3 different markets.
Yeah.
And so there are so many amazing different cultures and so much diversity within our team already. For me, the challenge is just getting my act together and leading as best I can, which is a steep learning curve, I tell you. I don't know, Mira, if you went through the same thing, but dealing with the stresses of trying to hit targets and keep your business afloat, whilst also trying to be inspiring and positive and motivate people, that's hard. That's really hard. And I'm just so lucky that I have such an amazing team by my side who make it as easy as I think it can be.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I know. I think that's all for my questions, and we also collected some questions from our registrants. So we will just because some of them we already covered in my interview. So I'll just ask 3 questions from our registrants. The first one is KOL or KOC. Which one do you think is more influential to your brand?
KOC, 100%.
KOC.
Yeah. We don't have the budget to reach out to somebody and with a necessarily huge following at the moment. I also don't think I ever necessarily would put down a big budget to work with a huge KOL. I can't think of the time I would do that now. I think we get the best passion. We work best with people who are deeply invested in our products and what we do. And ultimately, I think, like I said earlier, we are building really deep, powerful relationships with those people. And that's really the direction I think I want to grow the brand in for now and forevermore, even if we do have a huge war chest of budget behind us for marketing.
Yeah, I agree. For new brands, starting working with from KOC is a better choice. And second question is, which social media platforms do you prefer, like when you're market your brand?
In China, obviously.
Yeah, in China.
Yeah. I think for us, we are doing a lot on Xiaohongshu. We are doing obviously WeChat, but WeChat, as we know, is really hard and saturated. But I like WeChat because there's lots of tools that we can use from an e-commerce perspective with our store that actually really aligns with some of the stuff that LUÜNA specifically is trying to do. Community building, I think, you know, things like even like group buy tools is really nice for our products because we want to inspire this sense of sisterhood. So actually things like group buys, which I think can be employed by many brands in many different ways, we want to use that as an opportunity for women to take important steps together with regards to upgrading their period experience. So I think WeChat is difficult, but it's something that we're really focusing on a lot, actually.
So maybe WeChat is more for community building, and also it has more functions for you to maybe reach these customers, like group buying. You can use it to spread the word. And maybe Xiaohongshu is more focusing on female audience, so it's pretty suitable for your brand.
Yeah, definitely. And we're still learning a lot from these platforms at the moment, but I think moving forward, those are the two that we think can work quite nicely in tandem with one another.
Okay. And last question is, what kind of social impacts are particularly resonating among Chinese audience?
Oh, well, I guess currently we'll see how this goes, but obviously period poverty is trending in China. I'm super interested to see what feminine care companies do as a response to this. Obviously, I'm quite scathing about anybody responding to things like period poverty just because they're trending. So we'll see what happens there. I think, again, I can only speak to our target demographic, but sustainability concerns are on the rise in China. Increasingly get asked about the environmental footprint of our brand, from our products themselves to our packaging. And so I know that really is going to take center stage in the coming year, 2 years and beyond. I mean, how can it not? It's whether you want to believe it or not, we're kind of hurtling towards a climate disaster. And I think everyone's going to be fully aware of that moving forward. Something like COVID-19 is definitely having a positive effect, I would say, on the way consumers shop and think about their choices. So for something as disastrous as a global pandemic, I think there are some undeniable positive consequences.
Okay, I think that's all. If any of our attendees have any questions, you can use the chat box. If you have any queries, you can just reach Olivia. Olivia, if you have your contact information, you can share it here.
Sure. Do I put it in the chat?
Yeah, you can put it in the chat, or if you have a slide, you can also share your screen.
Okay, so I'll put the email, I'll put the WeChat.
Okay, if anyone has any query, you can reach Olivia through her email and also her WeChat. So if there is any other questions from our attendees, I think that's it for our today's event. Yeah, thanks Olivia for joining us. I think it's a very insightful and inspiring session. We definitely understand more about social impact and social impact brands in China. Thank you very much.
I'll speak to you soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.